Hey Libra, thank you for showing up here. This is a reading for you for Capricorn season, at least most of it, because I read from new moon to new moon, so an entire moon cycle. And the lunar cycles happen to, or the new moons rather, happen to be at the end of the signs right now. So this one is a Sagittarius 29, so just like in the second to last degree of Sagittarius, so that we have like 28 degrees of Capricorn in this lunar cycle that we're just about to start today as I'm recording this, and just 2 degrees of old Sagittarius. But this is important in the sense that this new moon has still Sagittarius energy, that it kind of takes over into Capricorn. This is normal, since usually lunar cycles don't start in like with the first degree of each sign. We usually have the new moon wherever in the sign, not in the first degree. But it is in the decan, this new moon, that is associated with a 10 card, the 10 of Wands. And the 10 of Wands, or any 10, is completion, is an end, is a manifestation into the real physicality of things in a way. And the 10 of Wands is the highest vibing manifestation, because the wand suit is kind of like the idea. Then we have the swords, rather the cups first, the emotion, the energy behind it, then the swords, which put it into thinkable thoughts, I want to say, so something more tangible than fuzzy emotions, and then we can manifest it into the physical world. So the 10 of Wands is the lessest. What's the word in English? I'm sorry. English is obviously not my first language, but the least. It's catching up. My English is not that bad. I'm just a bit out of practice. So the 10 of Wands is the least tangible of the 10s in the tarot. But it is still a 10. It is still a tangible end to something. And I call the 10 of Wands consequences. So usually the 10 of Wands is considered to be a burden, because there's I'm searching for the card in case you don't know what it looks like. There's a dude carrying 10 wands in a very peculiar way. Like he's leaning forward, like his center of gravity is like outside of his body. It's in front of him, which is like not very comfortable, and the smartness of the situation can be discussed, I would say. But it is, his actions are the consequence of decisions he made in the past. And despite the situation looking like it's not working out in his favor, this is questionable, because he probably has a very good reason to do this in the way that he does. But ultimately it means that it is just a consequence of his decisions in the past. So in case, like, this is just a reminder for us, in case that we are not surprised, but we don't understand maybe why something happens, something in our life that we don't understand. In this time, or in this month, we might do well by being reminded of that. It might just be the consequence of a past decision. And this decision could be like a couple of days ago, a week, a month, but it could also be a year ago, or even a decade. Like sometimes very old stuff catches up on us. And it doesn't mean that these decisions were bad. I mean, we all have our reasons why we made the decisions that we did in the past, which doesn't mean that we need to kind of redo like the decisions of the past. Like we can change our mind in the future, but we also don't have to regret the decisions of our past. Like still standing up for our past selves, doing what we've done, not regretting, still having in mind that perhaps today we would do it differently, but then again, we can't really catch up on our own self of the past, in the sense that we can't really go back into a situation and now I'm going to do it differently. And then again, life is exactly about that it kind of confronts us with a similar situation, not exactly the same situation, that we wished we had a second chance for when we kind of regret a decision. But it's up to us to recognize the patterns, the similarity of situations, and also the differences, obviously, because you cannot recreate like exactly the same situations that you had in the past. But it is all about correspondences of energies. So a situation might look a bit different, or even a lot. The differences might be huge, but energy-wise, they're maybe not. So just throwing that out. And now that I have some more coffee, because I'm a bit tired, we can just go into your reading, Libra. Alright. Venus people. Let's have a look for you. And there we have the first card. And we have the Lovers. Interesting. And can we have, oh, yeah, we can have one more card for the present. Three of Pentacles. And one more card, please. One more card for the future for Libra. No, we need to have two. Okay. If I can grab it. This is number one, Seven of Swords. I like it. And I'll tell you in a second why. Even more. I like it even more. What the hell? Challenging cards. Not easy, but not the worst. Definitely not. They need context though. Eight of Swords at the bottom. Let's make this a bit more nice. Okay. No, okay. Okay. Alright. The Lovers is in your past. It is the card of Gemini. So it is about polarities. It is about choices. Am I going towards alignment? Am I going out alignment? In alignment, out alignment? Alignment. Am I going inside to see the world from my own perspective, or am I taking somebody else's perspective, like putting myself into somebody else's shoes? As important as that is to be able to do that, we cannot live our lives from another person's perspective. Very important lessons. So there has been perhaps decisions. I mean, it's the decision card. I just said it. Consequences. I feel very confirmed in what I said before, but this is in the past, so it is about a past decision, as I've talked about before. But since I've already talked about it, I now want to have more specifics, because I feel like I would repeat myself at this point. So what else can we know about the Lovers here? Thank you. Ten of Cups. Interesting. A card of hope. And the Queen of Cups. Do we need another? Yeah, we need one more card, please, for the lovers here. Clarifying the lovers. No. Oh, okay, interesting. I usually take flyouts, not turnarounds. That's not on there. Sorry. How am I going to do this? There we go. Okay, another 10. We have the new moon and the 10 of wands, or the deacon of the 10 of wands, and now we have the 10 of cups and the 10 of swords, clarifying the lovers. Something is being concluded here. Something has come to an end. This is the past affecting the future right now. We also have the Queen of Cups, which is Cancer energy, your fellow cardinal sign, water instead of air, but still cardinal. So you share something there. 10 of Cups is my card of hope. 10 of Swords is a card that I call awareness. We need to be aware of what's going on. It is Sun in Gemini, but since it's a 10, it's also Earth. 10 of Cups is obviously then also Earth. But also Mars in Cancer. Yeah, we had Mars in Cancer last year. Was it last year? There was a retrograde that was kind of, I think that was it. So maybe it's a decision, it's about a decision about a year ago, or that has had some impact on your life a year ago or something. And the importance for now is in recognizing that there was a decision that was affecting your emotional life, that was affecting your mental clarity, your ability to think. I also want to say perhaps, focus. Could also be something about daydreams, like hopeful thinking. With the Queen of Cups, it's like about the inner life, the emotional life, the inner security that we can give ourselves or others. I mean, it is about the lovers. It can mean an intimate relationship, a romance, but not necessarily. I mean, all relationships that we have in the physical, whatever relationship, is a representation of the relationship that we have with ourselves, with our higher self. So first and foremost, something like many people call soul, but then also something bigger and higher vibing, even higher vibing than that. Ultimately, the story that wants to be told here is about the Eight of Swords, which is here the underlying card, and we have the Eight of Cups here, which is its fellow emotional card, while this is the mental card of the same aspect, and the aspect is Mercury. It is our focus, our attention. It is with the Eight of Swords. It's a story that is not very easy. It is the story between femininity and masculinity that is not so obvious, but it's always playing in the background. That's kind of how I see it, because there's the saying, or from mythology, the tradition, let's say, that women, like nowadays we say women are from Venus and men are from Mars. But if you look at the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, the system that they have that I heavily use, at least at the moment, I'm really starting to love it because it explains so much. It is a bit unfortunate because Venus and Mars are not equals. Venus is lower vibing than Mars. Surprisingly, like you would think perhaps Mars, because he has such a destructive energy, but he is actually on the same level as Jupiter. So Jupiter comes first. Should be this for you if you're looking. What is it? Sorry. Anyway, I'm just, because my screens are, some of them are mirroring me and some the other one is not, so I'm confused. So you see it, I can't figure it out right now. I think I need to, yeah, I need to do it the wrong way around for me. Sorry. Sometimes brains are retarded. So Jupiter's on this level, and then Mars is on the same level, just on the other side. Sun and Moon are in the middle, so they're more neutral. And then we have Venus here and Mercury there. So Venus and Mercury are the inner planets, and that's why they're on the same level. They're somewhat of an echo of the other planets with a bigger orbit. So they're a bit closer to us, they're a bit more like us, it's easier for us to reach them, it is easier for us to just have thoughts and just having feelings, instead of going to Jupiter, for example, who's more about more complex kind of wisdom and knowledge, and also just general expansion. It gets more abstract when the planets are the higher planets. So Venus and Mars here, Venus there, or the other way around. Yeah, I think I should need to do it the other way around. I'm sorry. If you are familiar with the Kabbalah Tree of Life, then you appreciate this. Otherwise, I'm just probably confusing you. So Mars is higher vibing, Venus is lower vibing. When it higher or lower is not better or worse or anything. We just need to be aware that there is a bigger difference between them than we are aware of, and also that there's a counterbalance, which is Mercury and Jupiter. And I'm saying this, I know this was a long intro, so to speak, because, sorry, I have a sheet that kind of said goodbye. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm shaking, apologize. Because the Eight of Swords has Jupiter and Mercury as rulers, like, that it is, Jupiter's kind of well known. This is that has been established by the Golden Dawn, so you can see it on this card. There is a Jupiter sign right at the top between the, what is it, the hems or whatever, of the two vertical swords. But it's also an 8, so it is also associated with Mercury. So I'm saying this because as important that it is for us that, in a way, women come from Venus, so they're very emotional creatures, and men come from Mars, so they're very like warrior-like. They are also from Mercury, so they can make very tough decisions. Not saying that women can make tough decisions or that men don't have emotions. We all know that this isn't true, but predominantly and especially importantly in intimate relationships, the classical, the traditional energies are the ones that people need to use in order to fulfill or to make the relationship flourish, to make the union possible even. And the counterbalance, like I said, of Venus and Mars is Mercury and Jupiter. And if I look at the pair of Venus and Mars, which is a relationship of, like, Venus is kind of like a battery. Emotions are batteries. It's just energy. It just puts pressure into the system. Something we actually think of Mars. We think of Mars to be very active and about motivation and will and that kind of stuff, but it's more Venus who puts in the energy. And Mars is more of a limiter. He's just saying he's every masculine energy, almost every masculine energy, at least the lower ones that we are aware of, are very good at saying no. So the lower vibing feminine energies are actually very good at saying yes and not very good at saying no. So all the discernment, all the analytical abilities, it's masculine energy. And where Mars kind of limits the energy of the woman in a positive way, in a well, let's say not positive, but because that's confusing, in a structural way. I would say it gives structure, not like the sun would do, but still. Also that just simply because a woman can give quite a lot, and if she can say, if in a relationship, oftentimes the relationship does well when the man says when the energy should be cut off, when it's enough, and the woman should retreat, which doesn't mean that a woman can never do this on her own. It's just, like I said, a well-functioning relationship, which can also mean that the energies can be flipped. So that the man carries the feminine energy, is the battery, and the woman is the one who is the analytical mind in the background and the limiter and everything. So Mercury and Jupiter then as the counterpart, the balancing, where the masculine energy is the lower vibing one and Jupiter is the higher vibing one. Jupiter, as opposed to Venus, is, well, in similarity is also about giving, but less in a less tangible way. So it's more like giving space. It is the abundance principle per se. We know when we talk about Jupiter, we always say Jupiter makes everything bigger, and it's very true because Jupiter just wants to expand. And that's why Mars is so important. Mars sets a limit to Jupiter. And it feels sometimes kind of weird when Mars does that to Venus, because Venus is one step lower. Her natural partner is not Mars, it's Mercury. We understand that when we pair thoughts with emotions. So if you have just thoughts on their own, they can be quite cold and also not very powerful because they lack, truth comes more in through the connection with the sun and the moon, so the neutral middle axis. But what emotions do is giving energy into the thoughts, into the words. And Mercury and Jupiter then, Mercury is then the one who gives form to the emotions. So the thoughts are the form of the emotions, the structure the emotions can use, because they're kind of like, we know like how emotions are. They're hard to understand, they're hard to grasp. It's sometimes hard to really get awareness about what is going on inside of us emotionally. That's why we have thoughts. That's what thoughts are for, in a way, to put our emotions into words. That's why it's also important that men understand women, and give room for their emotions. It's the battery of the man, so to speak. So Mercury and Jupiter means then that it's not the emotion that is put into form, but rather time and space. Like Jupiter is the first planet or rather the Sephiroth that is associated with Jupiter, which is Chesed. It is time and space. Like for the first time, we are having time and space with Jupiter, and Mercury is giving language to that. It's a bit abstract, a bit hard to understand because it's already Jupiter. It is already pretty abstract. It is not an inner planet like Mercury and Venus, but Mercury in the direct connection to Jupiter is trying to give a lower structure to a higher principle, which is not an easy thing. And that's why I think the Eight of Swords is also one of the difficult cards. I mean, the Eight of Swords, Nine of Swords, the Ten of Swords, these are difficult cards. I mean, Swords card in general can be quite difficult, but it is a challenge, but it's not impossible to do something constructively here. Okay, that was really quite a lot about the past. So let's move on to the here and now. What's going on right now? Okay, I'm just trying to organize my space here. I would like to just move that stuff over there a bit more. Maybe I can do that, like, yeah, I can make a little bit space. A little bit. Okay, let's have a look at the Three of Pentacles. Can we please know more about the Three of Pentacles here? Thank you. Ace of Wands. The stars are talking in their highest expression. And we have the Tower. Mars and Capricorn. Three of Pentacles. Clarified by the Tower. Mars itself. Okay. And the Eight of Pentacles. Which is Sun in Virgo. And a Mercury card again. At the bottom is the Ace of Swords. Another star card. I think the aces are about stars. I mean, the aces are like associated to the Sephiroth Kether, which is like the highest one. Kether means crown. Which also reminds me of Corona. I mean, Corona means crown in Latin. But you know which crown, which Corona I'm referring to probably. Which it's not a nice crown, but then again, it might give us a lot of clarity or a lot of truth in the future. And for some, it already has. It's going on. It's ongoing rather. Anyway, yeah, the stars. I want to say behave differently, which is a funny way to say. I mean, we are, it is up on us humans here down on Earth to be a representative of the world in its most densest and low vibing form. So I don't necessarily think that the stars are different. So I'm not sure what I mean here. Right? I would, my logic, the logic side of my brain wants to say, well, it's us that are changing because it's us that change generally. It's not really the stars. And I'm kind of also questioning that the stars should rotate or that they have to rotate, like, I mean, move across the sky every night and day, and well, we can see it at night and at day, not really. Obviously they're moving all the time. But something's different. But why would I say the stars are changing? Should I interpret it like celebrities? I mean, like in a or stars in your life, like your guides. Your guides are changing. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Your guides are changing. Because stars are guides. Yes. Okay, Three of Pentacles is having a plan. It's Mars and Saturn. So it's about understanding one's limitations. Understanding one's limitations to make a thorough plan. Because a plan is just like structuring one's action. So Saturn and Mars. Which is also an interesting feminine masculine pair again, because Saturn in my world is actually feminine. It appears, I think, traditionally or like superficially even to be quite masculine, because it's one of the boogeymans, let's say. I mean, Mars, Saturn, and Pluto basically. But I think Mars is definitely masculine, but Saturn is, for me, it appears to be masculine on the surface, but it's feminine on the inside, let's say. It's kind of like, like we have two hemispheres of our brain, and some of our nerves, or like they cross over, but some of them do not. And I don't remember which ones do and which ones do not, though I'm a scientist and I learned that like 20 years ago or something. Wow, 15 years ago. But I didn't really use that knowledge, so it's kind of gone. Until I refresh it, hopefully at some point. But it's kind of like that. Like, if you have the tree of life, you have 3 columns, like I indicated before. And I have to do it the wrong way around for me. You have the masculine side on your left, and then on your right you have the feminine side. But as you go up, like the first 2 layers, it stays the same. Like the columns are like the masculine and the feminine stuff are on top of each other, but at some point they cross over. I think that's my theory, and they cross over at a point which the Golden Dawn or Aleister Crowley calls the abyss. So a place or a spot where you can get lost, or where it's hard to cross. And the crossover is from, like, traditionally, or the easier crossover is from Jupiter to Saturn. It's also possible from Mars to Uranus, or Mars Saturn, or, well, Jupiter Uranus. But Jupiter Saturn is probably the easiest, because they're also neighboring planets with not really similar orbits, but the ones closest together. But anyway, the abyss is quite a complex thing, because you have to talk about the art, which is like the source of all evil, which lies right in the middle, in between them, and it's probably the cause of the abyss. It is understanding what is original, what is a copy, basically, like the devil being the copy of God. But then again, what is God? And I'm always reminded at the moment that God has the same letters as dog. It's like, okay, is God a dog? Is every a dog a god? Or what? I don't understand. And I'm not really saying anything here. I don't want to be called out for blasphemy, but I don't know what to make of it right now. It's kind of weird. But how did we get there? Saturn making plans. Oh yeah, feminine energy, which might look like masculine energy. So yeah, let's get back on track here. Making a plan. Maybe in light of the decisions and this big masculine feminine energy that's going on, with the 8 of Swords, but in an unusual way, like I explained with Mercury and Jupiter, the uncommon pair, still hierarchical, not very pleasant, perhaps not very easy, because it's the abstract higher meets the more obvious lower level of masculine and feminine energy. And maybe I wouldn't know how you're supposed to make a plan here. I'm kind of I don't know what to make of this. Well, I have not really talked about the Eight of Pentacles yet. It's a Sun in Virgo, a Mercury card. Well, Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. Mercury is about communication, but it's also about awareness and focus. What do you let in? What are you focusing on in your life? What do you prioritize? What is most important? What is your emphasis? What do you want at the end of the day? What do you do what do you do to cope, and what do you do to thrive? Where do you lose energy, and what gives you energy, like true energy, not vampire energy, but like a win-win situation. I mean, that's how it should be. That is, I think, our natural way of doing it. If it wasn't for the devil, let's say, like the devil as the ultimate opponent to God, if we believe in a God world, like a world made by a God, the God, whatever, a creator, a creative force in general, a God principle working in the background, in the foreground, whatever. We can put an opponent to this force, to this principle. Yeah. Interesting. Let's move on to the future. What does the rest of December and most of... No, you can't see that. Let's put it here. What does the rest of December and then still most of January bring for Libra? Success. 6 of Wands. Victory. Okay, let's see. Maybe you should just plan for victory. How about that? You just put in like 29th of December victory. That's a smart idea, right? It's totally gonna work out. Okay. What can we know about the 7 of Swords and 3 of Swords, but also add up to a 10 of Swords, by the way. I mean, that's another ending here. It's clarified by the 5 of Swords. Interesting. And another card, please. Oh. No. That was the word card, and I just saw the 10 of Pentacles. So more endings. And big new beginnings, because that was the Ace of Swords. No, Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. We take it. We already saw the Ace of Swords. And one more card. Thank you. Another Virgo card. Knight of Pentacles. Clarified with the 5. Oh, not clarified, but summed up. This clarification summed up with or as the 5 of Wands. So, well, the 5s are always a bit of a difficult energy, but I wouldn't too much fret about this energy, because we already covered that we really need to have limitations in this world, otherwise it's not gonna work. So this is the reminder. These 2 5s in general. The 7 of Swords is a bit of a tricky card, because it is a moon card, so it is about our subconscious, like the big filter, density filter that we see everything else through. Like, I think even to have thoughts and emotions, we kind of need to access we're highly influenced by our subconscious, because I think we are not really capable of having our own thoughts and emotions. I see us humans rather as a receiving device, so to speak, like an antenna. And what we think and what we feel is what our filter, our moon, our subconscious is sending to us, or rather is letting through. So it's a density filter in a way. So we don't, like, there are tree of lives in the Kabbalah tradition, like with different paths on it. Most of them have, at some point, I have not prepared it, but most of them have direct lines, so direct connections between the earth, which is called Makut, or Makut in Hebrew, and then direct connections to Hod, which is Mercury, and then Netzach, which is Venus. But I doubt that. But there are also Kabbalistic traditions, more modern, like more like late, what is it? I don't know, 15th century, 17th century, I don't know. Sometime roughly, well, not really Middle Ages. I don't know when, but not the early Middle Ages, where there's only one line, one direct line going from the Earth to the Moon, so from Malkut to Yesod. And that's, I think, that's what I just described, the situation, that we're not, because if we had direct connections from the Earth to Mercury and Venus, so to our thoughts and to our emotions, then we would be overwhelmed because there would be no filter. So our subconscious is really working in our favor, and that it limits what we can receive at any given point in time, because I don't really know, but I guess the density of this world makes it so challenging to deal with the higher energy that we would just, I don't know, explode if we had access to all of the thoughts that we could possibly have at any given time, like that we ever had or will have. The moon is just an inevitability, like seen from down up, basically. So that's said about the moon in general. Now we have the Seven of Swords with the moon and Mercury here, so it is exactly about that. Like, sometimes I feel perhaps deceived, because with the Seven of Swords, traditionally, it's a dude stealing. Well, he's always accused of stealing swords, but I'm not really sure that he does. There he is. I mean, first of all, he's only stealing 5. I mean, he's generous enough to leave 2 behind. But yeah, I don't know. But maybe he's evening out odds. Who knows? Like, maybe it's a besiegement, and there are 3,000 men besieging a tiny little town in France or whatever. And well, that was a bad example, because the tiny little town in France obviously has very great warriors in it, but who knows what the situation is, what the context is. So with the Three of Swords is a very unbalanced card, because it is double Saturn. It is Saturn in Libra, your sign. Saturn is also exalted in Libra, so it's extra strong there. And then the Three of Swords, it's a 3, and 3s are associated with Bina, and Bina is associated with Saturn. So that's where the double or even triple Saturn influence with the Three of Swords comes from. Well, Aleister Crowley calls this card sorrow, as you can see it on here, but I call it agreements or vows, like wedding vows, for example. But it could be any kind of agreement, like a contract, like in the physical, a written contract or an oral contract or an energetic contract that you have with others or with yourself or parts of yourself with other parts of yourself. I kind of don't want to overemphasize the Seven of Swords, but kind of want to say that to read it as a Ten of Swords together, and then we're back at awareness that we already had down here, together with the Ten of Cups, the hope that we had. It was about decisions of the past, romantic perhaps relationships or any other relationship, that we should be aware of the decisions that we made in the past. And then we have the Five of Swords as, as clarification, which is another card, or not another card. We didn't have a card in itself yet that says Venus and Mars, but we had that whole feminine and masculine shebang going on. So now we are reminded directly of it. So we can't escape this masculine and feminine energy, the dance between men and women. And the stars are again talking to our emotions. They're guiding us. And I said here that your guides are shifting. I would say this is a new guide. You are aware right now that your guides are shifting, but perhaps you have not met your future, your new guide or guides. Who knows what or who it is. But I would say it does not take that long for you to become aware of it, because swords are about awareness. So we definitely have a revelation, perhaps not a new revelation, but like a understanding here, I want to say. Thanks. An understanding that comes to its completion. Sorry about that. I need better tape, obviously. I have a big cheat sheet with all the correspondences. So my brain doesn't need that long to come to the right association. Most of them I know by heart, but some of them I don't. And especially the names that I came up with, like this column, I really like. So sometimes I just look it up. Okay, because memory is not my strong suit. Not right now, at least. And then we also have this Virgo card. So we go from the Eight of Pentacles to the Nine of Pentacles, which is nice because they're like following cards. It's a sign of manifestation, bringing down into the physical. And the Nine of Pentacles is Venus in Virgo. Not the most easy connection, but also not the hardest one, I would say. It is important to understand with Venus and Virgo that to use one's discernment, analytical ability in general, and also one's words wisely when it comes to matters of the heart, or I shouldn't say heart, emotional matters, because I mean in the Western world, in the modern Western world, we associate emotions with the heart, but that's not really true. It's not because the sun is associated with the heart, so it's more about structure and order and awareness. Awareness? Yeah. Consciousness. Rather consciousness than awareness. Awareness more Mercury. So nervous system. And Venus and the emotions are more associated with the hormonal system. Yeah. So Nine of Pentacles is a card that talks about results and refinement. Like she is in front of this vineyard with this almost ready to harvest grapes in the background, and she has this hawk there. It's something is almost ripe, something is almost ready, which is surprising because you just got new guides. I mean, or will get new guides in the future. But it's which tells me that the new guides are perhaps, I want to say, not so different than the old ones. That's not really true, but they're not opposed. It's not like, oh, these were the wrong idols I've been following or something like that. No, it was just that it was time to follow something else, and this doesn't mean that you're not following yourself. It doesn't mean that you're not true to yourself by following these guides. I mean, I think in our physical lives, our physical realities are just a representation of higher energies. So we absolutely have to follow, in a way, other energies outside of ourselves, like outside of our lowest vibing self, in order to have a meaningful life in any kind of way, I would say. So I'm with guides, I really mean higher guides, positive guides, not idols. And these guides are working hand in hand. They are not. They might be sorry to let you go, but like the old ones, and the new ones are happy to have you, so to speak. But that doesn't mean that there are bad feelings or anything. That's what I can tell you. Yeah, this is my card of persona, and I see the Hierophant behind it. So it's all perhaps like in the future it might look like the result of it all, because this is results as well. Sometimes I call it refinement, sometimes I call it results. I can't really decide with this card because it's the 9. It's just one step away from the 10, but it is not a 10 yet. There are, in the future, it might look like, in retrospect, it was all about shaping the persona, like your persona, that you're becoming the person that you need to be in the future. I mean, we can always look at our life from the present moment looking into the future, or we can look from the present moment into the past. So kind of like, is there a counter word for retrospective? Like future perspective? I don't know. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but kind of like backwards kind of perspective, or forwards kind of perspective. And obviously both is important and both is very unimportant, because at the end of it we need to live in the now, right where we are at right now. But perhaps we're gonna learn that time is a funny thing. And we talked about Jupiter, like Jupiter being the one that expands, and this is the principle of abundance, like female abundance, and creates time and space. And perhaps we're gonna increasingly, and you perhaps in the near future, gonna discover and make it our reality, our everyday reality, that time is not really what we think it is right now, or what we've been taught that it is. And I can't really tell you how it is different, because I don't have all the answers, obviously. I'm just reading cards. No, I'm not. Also having a lot of thoughts, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm doing a lot of inner work. I'm not just reading cards, but I mean, I just have one perspective, and all these perspectives taken together form a coherent picture, I would say. And I'm very much looking forward to what our collective conscious efforts will take fruit, how the fruits are going to look like in the future. Because it's about harvest time. Not quite yet, but we're getting there. And it's becoming more and more obvious, I would say. Okay. I think that's what I have for you today, Libra. Very, very interesting reading. I hope this helped, and I hope to see you soon again. Bye bye.